Welcome back to mini video series on fraction. In this lecture video, let's take a look at add and subtract fractions. So add and subtract fractions has the same procedure. The very first thing we got to do is to find the least common denominator or finding the least common multiple for the denominator first. And then we're going to change each fraction into an equivalent fraction with that new denominator. And then we're going to add the new fractions and reduce the fraction at the very end if possible. So whatever you do, okay, do not go ahead and add them across and say this is actually 3/4/9. That is super incorrect. Okay, and let me explain why we cannot just add them across. Well, in other video I mentioned I love pizza, so let's try to use two pizza for example. All right, two pizza, different flavor, of course. Let's say the place I bought the pizza from made a mistake. One first large pizza, they only cut into 4 slices. Second one, they cut them into 8 equal parts correctly. So let's just pretend, okay? All right, so the first one only cut into 4 slices, and I ate 1 out of the 4, for example. And then I'm still hungry, so I'm gonna keep on eating. So the second large pizza with a different topping, this time I ate 5 of them. Let me highlight them. All right, so the second one, I ate 5 of them, but this second large pizza was cut into 8 slices. So if we say 1 plus 5 is 6, 4 plus 8 in the bottom is 12, that means I ate 6 slices out of 12, which is incorrect. Why? Well, you actually ate 6 slices. No, I actually not quite eating 6 slices. I actually ate more than that because my first slice was actually quite large as compared to the other 5 slices. This actually one large slice is actually equivalent to 2 of those I ate. Okay, so the very first thing we got to make sure is the pizza are cut evenly. Gotta be 8 equal part for both of them before I can actually take a look at exactly how many slices I eat. All right. You cannot say, well, little Johnny ate 1 slice. Well, little Johnny's brother or sister only ate 1 of them. Well, this 1 slice is a lot bigger than that 1 slice. So we got to make sure we cut them into equal part first before we can say how many we ate. So if I just continue the wrong here, 6/12. If you say I ate 6 slices out of 12, right? Because the two large pizza was cut into 12 slices total. That means I ate half of it. All right, that means I actually ate half of what we bought. Well, I actually by looking at the picture, I actually ate more than half. Okay, because this 1/4 slice is actually 2, equivalent to 2 of these small slices. So I actually almost ate the whole entire large pizza by itself. Okay, so that's why we cannot just add them across or subtract them across when it comes to adding or subtracting fractions. So the very first thing we got to do is always find the least common denominator or least common multiple before we can add and subtract. All right, so for example, 3/5 plus 1/4. I got 2 different denominators. So the least common denominator or the least common multiple between 5 and 4 will be 20. So to make them into to make my denominator the same, I will make them into 20, or I will cut them into 20 slices of pizza. All right, so now let's find our equivalent fraction. So to go from denominator 5 into denominator 20, I'm actually multiplying them by 4, or increase by 4 times. My numerator will also do the same, times by 4, which will give me 12. Second denominator is 4. To become the new LCD 20, I will times by 5. My numerator do the same thing, times by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. All right, so 12 over 20 is equivalent to 3/5. 5 over 20 is equivalent to 1/4. So I want to make sure I find the equivalent fraction first with the same denominator before I can add them. All right, so when it comes to adding fractions, after we found the equivalent fraction, we only add the numerator. Denominator never change. Okay, denominator never change. Stays as 20. I'll try another one. All right, adding fraction, the least common denominator or least common multiple between 9 and 5 down here will be 45. All right, so once I determine the least common denominator, then I will find its equivalent fraction. So the old denominator 9 to become the new 45, 9 go into 45, 5 times, so that means I'll have to multiply by 5. Numerator, 5 times 5, which will be 25. So 25 over 45 is equivalent to 5 over 9. Old denominator 5 to become new 45 LCD, times by 9 times. Numerator times by 9. 4 times 9 is 36. All right, so once I find the equivalent fraction, then I can add them side by side. For the numerator, not the denominator. Denominator always stays the same. So 25 plus 36 will be about 51. No, 61. 5, but yeah, 61. So I'm just going to leave my answer as an improper fraction for right now, okay? So I just want to quickly show you how we can find the least common denominator, find its equivalent fraction, then we just simply add the numerator. All right, you can pause the video and try this one, and I'm going to come back and do this one for you at the end of the video. Now let's take a look at subtracting fractions. Subtracting fractions is the same procedure as adding fractions, except once I find my equivalent fractions, then I'm going to subtract the numerators. So the least common denominator between 8 and 16 got to be 16. Make sure my denominators are the same first. That means my pizzas are cut into all the same equal slices between the two boxes. 8 going to 16 got to increase 2 times, so my numerator got to increase 2 times. So if I ate 5 slices out of 8, that's equivalent of me eating 10 slices out of 16 if we cut them into 16 slices. All right. 16, old denominator 16 to become a new LCD 16 will only go into itself 1 time. So my numerator, denominator only times by 1, which is still going to be 5 over 16. So now, once I find the equivalent fraction, then I can subtract my numerator, 10 minus 5. My answer, 5 over 16. All right. I am not quite sure what the least common denominator or multiple is between 25 and 15. So I'm going to put my 25 and 15 inside this upside down division. And I'm going to find what number can go into both of them other than 1. So I'm going to choose 5 first. 5 going to 25 5 times. 5 going to 15 3 times. And I don't think there's another number can go into 5 and 3 other than 1. So this is it for my least common multiple. So now multiply all the numbers on the outside. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 3 25 times 3, I believe, is 75. So my least common denominator is 75. 5 times 5 times 3, 75. All right, so the old denominator 25 to become the new LCD, I got to go into it 3 times or multiply by 3. The numerator will also times by 3. 23 times 3, which is 69. All right, 15 will go into 75. Got to multiply by 5. So my numerator will also times by 5. 13 times 5 is about 65. So now, after I find the equivalent fractions, I will subtract my numerator, which is going to be 69 minus 65. That will give me 4 over 75. All right, that will be my answer. All right, now you can pause the video and give this one a try. All right, I hope you already tried both of these. So let's try this addition one. 5 over 16 plus 3 over 8. The least common denominator is going to be 16. So 16 going to 16, increase 1 time. So 5 times 1 is still going to be 5 on the numerator. So the 5 over 16 doesn't change. All right. Old denominator 8 to become the new LCD 16. Got to go into it 2 times, or I will multiply by 2 on the numerator and denominator. So that will be 6. So add the numerator, 5 plus 6. My answer, 11 over 16. All right. The second one I asked you to try, the least common denominator between 9 and 27. Got to be 27. So my second fraction is not going to change because the LCD is the same as the original denominator. So that will still be 15, right? 27 on 27 times by 1. All right, the first denominator was 9 to become the new LCD 27. I got times by 3. So my numerator times by 3 as well. 6 times 3 is 18. So this problem becomes 18 over 27 minus 15 over 27. My answer, 3 over 27. Well, 3 over 27 can actually be reduced by 3. So we always got to check that at the end. So if I reduce them by 3, my final answer going to be 1 over 9. All right, so when it comes to adding and subtracting fractions, the first thing we got to do is to find the least common denominator, okay? Do not add them across right off the bat. That's actually incorrect. All right, that will conclude this video. Thank you for watching.